Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mindset Monday. My name is Sally Garozzo, and this is the place to be to get inspiration and motivation on how to be happier and more fulfilled in your life. So today is the final part of a 3-part series called Reprogram Your Mind for weight loss. So if you want to watch parts 1 and parts 2, I will post a link somewhere above or below depending on where you're watching. And today's session is called Shed Weight Without Willpower. So this is for you if you think you don't have any willpower. This is for you if you're absolutely ready to take responsibility for your thinking and for your choices around food. And this is for you if you need a little bit of a kickstart. Maybe your motivation's been waning. Maybe you just need a little bit of inspiration to get back on the wagon. So grab a notebook and pen and let's go. So last week was all about the fact that if you are carrying excess weight, it's really not your fault. And it's not your fault because of the 3 traps that I mentioned: the nature trap, the protection trap, and the culture trap. But then at the very end, I mentioned about the acceptance paradox, and that if you really want to lose weight or shed weight, you really need to love yourself and accept yourself exactly the way that you are right now. And then you can start to implement some of these rules of the mind that I am going to show you right now, because you will have much more motivation to do so. There won't be any kind of sticky stuff in the way. It'll be like having a clean slate, and you can jump in. You'll have the confidence to jump in with these rules of the mind. So that's what we want to do. We want to fill up with new habits, ones that support you. So the title, it's not really a title, but it's the thing that I say around this, is a mantra. There you go, it's a mantra. It's not your fault, but it is now your responsibility to do something about it. And so now it's time for you to take massive responsibility for your own programming around food. It's time for you to really update that software. Maybe you've got old language, old patterns going round and round and round in your mind about food, stuff that you're not even aware of. It's time to bring it to the surface, and it's time to ditch it, and it's time to reprogram your mind using new helpful statements, helpful mantras that can get you through sticky emotional situations. So instead of fighting with the rules of the mind, we work with the rules of the mind. And this is why diets don't work predominantly, because they go against the rules of the mind. In dieting, you need to use willpower. We're not going to be using any willpower. We're going to be working with the rules of the mind. So in diets, you say, oh, I really want that cake, but I know I'm not supposed to have it. And what do? You can't fight that. You will always end up caving in. But we're going to work with the rules. So here are the rules of the mind. Rule number 1, your mind and body responds to the words and pictures that you make in your head. Rule number 2, your mind always wants to take you away from pain and towards pleasure. Rule number 3, your mind automatically does what is familiar, or goes towards what is familiar, and rejects what is unfamiliar. And number 4, your mind cannot hold on to a conflicting thought. So let's start with rule number 1. Your mind and body respond to the words and pictures that you make in your head. So if you don't have what you want in your life, it's because you're sending the wrong words and the wrong pictures to yourself. Your mind is your best friend. It's always working for you. It's always working to give you what it thinks you want. So you have to collaborate with your mind. You've got to tell your mind what it is you want, rather than scaring yourself with things that you don't want, or constantly thinking about all the weight that you've got, or constantly thinking about food, because that is what you are sending to your mind and your body. So in essence, around food, what we want to do around our body image, we want to change the words and the pictures that we have in our mind about ourselves. So I want to do an exercise with you to underpin my point about this. This exercise is really good because it just shows you exactly how your body responds to your imagination. So what I want you to do for me is I want you to hold out your hand and I want you to imagine that I have put into your hand right now a massive, juicy lemon. It can be one of those big Sicilian lemons or a lemon from Sorrento. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to see that lemon in your mind. You're going to imagine holding it and you're going to bring that lemon up to your mouth. You're going to squeeze it. You're going to smell it. And I want you to open your mouth really wide and I want you to shove that lemon into your mouth. Imagine really sucking the juice out of that lemon, chew it around, and find that you are now pumping out masses of saliva just to a thought. And then you can open your eyes. I find that exercise fascinating. And also today, actually, when I was at yoga, we were doing something really, really challenging. And I kept saying to myself, I can't do this, it hurts, I can't do it, it hurts. And then I said to myself, come on, Sally, you know about the rules of the mind. And so I started saying to myself, my body is strong, I am fit. And I was actually able to do much more than I thought I was capable of. I was certainly able to withstand more than I thought I was capable of. So you just got to work with. So in that lemon exercise, your body just responded to a thought that you had in your mind. And I think that is absolutely amazing. So the images and the words that you say to yourself really send a powerful signal to your body. And if you didn't quite get the saliva, try it again, keep going and really turn up the dial on the images and the words and the pictures in your mind, because you will find eventually you'll be pumping out saliva. I just have to mention the word lemon now and it all starts going a bit fuzzy in my mouth. So that is why in RTT we really try to refrain from using the word weight loss, because loss can be associated with pain. You know, we say things like, I lost my job, I lost my husband, I lost my keys, I lost my money, whatever. And so if you are holding on to the weight to gain something, if you're holding on to the weight to gain maybe a feeling of being bigger, maybe a feeling of not being so vulnerable against people coming on to you, or maybe there's a reason why you are bigger because you associate being attractive with pain. So if you are holding on to the weight to gain something, using the word or the phrase weight loss is really going to have an adverse effect to you, because you actually don't want to lose weight, if you know what I mean. There'll be a part of you that doesn't want to anyway. So what we want to do is choose empowering language that really supports what you want. And not just language, but pictures. And we are always visualizing, whether we know it or not, we are always visualizing. Some people say to me, I can't visualize, I'm not a very visual person. Well, I always think that's because you haven't actually noticed that you've been visualizing. So we do actually visualize, before we do anything, we visualize it first. And just start to notice when you do that. Like, for example, if you get into your car, you will visualize getting into your car first. If you go shopping, you will visualize the whole process very, very quickly before you do. And what it does is it sort of sets you up for doing the task. So we want to be really careful what we're visualizing, especially when it comes to food that we know is not really good for our mind and our bodies. So instead of visualizing yourself eating cake, bread, pasta, cheese, wine, all the things that you know are not going to give you health and vitality, instead visualize yourself saying no to those kinds of foods, or opting for different kinds of foods, maybe some peanut butter and some celery, maybe, you know, some chickpeas or some vegetables or something a bit different. So what I like to do, if I'm out, so this weekend I went to the vegan festival and there were lashings of beautiful looking vegan cakes, but of course still got sugar in, still very carb heavy. I know would not suit me to eat that stuff. So part of me was like, wow, look at those, they look amazing. And then the other part of me was like, okay, work with the rules of the mind. So I imagined green fairy liquid all over the cakes, smooshed in, and then imagine picking that up and putting that in your mouth. And I can already taste the bitterness of the green fairy liquid. It's really not nice at all. So this is what it's all about. It's about you in those moments making a decision to use different words and different pictures that send a signal to your body to tell it what you actually want. Because if you visualize yourself eating or getting a Deliveroo or getting a takeaway at like 10, 11 at night, that's going to happen. So turn that off and think about something else. And this is quite within your capabilities. You can do this. Anyone can do this. Everyone can do this. It's not that we are weak-willed. It's not that we are lazy or weak-willed. We don't have any willpower when it comes to food. It's just that we can be a little bit lazy when it comes to our thinking and around using these techniques to support our bodies. So turn the dial up on these images, turn the dial up on the words that you use, especially in situations where you might buckle. So, for example, you know, I use quite strong words. So if I see something that I might want, but actually I don't want it, I will say to myself, that is toxic poison. Why would I want to put that anywhere near my body? And my body goes, oh yeah, you wouldn't drink bleach, would you? So why would you want that kind of toxic poison? The cheese or the wine or the gluten or the cake? To me, that's still toxic poison. So I don't, you know, it just doesn't compute to eat that kind of stuff. And I love this idea that there will always be another opportunity to eat those sugary, carby, unhealthy foods. And I like this idea that when you are young, you need your vitality. But when you're older, maybe when you're 80 and maybe when you're 90 and, you know, your life's slowed down quite a lot, then you can eat as many cakes, biscuits and sweets as you want to. So there's always going to be another day for you to eat that stuff. But today, all the while you need your health, your vitality, perhaps choose something different. And your mind, what was I going to say? Yes, so tell a different story around this food. Tell the truth about this unhealthy food. Like, say to yourself, it's toxic, it doesn't belong in my body. And one of the things I really love to say is I choose health over sickness. I choose energy over lethargy. I choose health over pain. I choose abundance and freedom over being in hospital. Yeah, just those kind of words really make me listen to myself and to really take myself seriously. So your mind always loves to feel in control of itself. When choices are imposed upon us when we're younger, when we're smaller, then it kind of feels like it's taking our power away. But when we get older, we really want to feel like we are making our own choices. And this is a wonderful way of doing that. The ability to choose what you want for yourself is the reward, not the cake, biscuits, crisps, etc., etc. So work with the language in your mind and work with the pictures in your mind to give you what you want. So the second rule of the mind is that your mind wants to take you away from pain and towards pleasure. So we need to link unhealthy foods to pain and healthy foods to pleasure. And this is why strict diets do not work, because they are rooted in pain. They are rooted in denial, a denial of pleasure. And whatever you deny yourself, will motivate you in the long run. So, for example, maybe devout religious people who have denied themselves sexuality, can end up really backfiring on them later on in life, and they can become addicted to pornography and things like that. And so this is why, when you see unhealthy food as denial, you will want it even more. That's why you have to see it as not denial. You're not denying yourself of anything. You are certainly not denying yourself of happiness if you eat that stuff. So yes, let me just carry on using this, otherwise I'm going to get all tongue-tied. Where am I? Diets punish your body, and your mind has to move you away from anything that punishes you. That's why they don't work. That is why they fail. That is why willpower can only last a certain length of time. When you treat your body well, your body will forgive you. So I'm going to give you some mindset hacks here to help you with this rule. So hack number 1 is you really do need to allow yourself some healthy sugars, of course, because then you won't feel like you are completely denying something quite natural. So healthy sugars are in obviously fruit and a little bit of honey, a little bit of maple syrup, maybe some coconut palm sugar. But be honest. When you eat these things, do not call them treats. They are not treats, okay? If you eat white refined sugar in excess, it causes cancer, diabetes, anxiety, depression, muscle aches and pains, inflammation in the body. It is not a treat. How is that a treat? It's not a treat. So you've got to say it as it is. If you're eating a piece of fruit, maybe a mango, say to yourself, my mind thinks this is rare. That is why it is craving sugar. But I know it's not rare. I know it's not rare. I could go to the supermarket now and there'll be hundreds of pieces of fruit. There'll be hundreds of Kit Kats. So I know it's not rare. And it's not a treat. It's just perhaps I want this so that I feel safe. Remember, the only food in nature that's got fat and sugar combined is breast milk. And when we're on the boob, or on the nipple, that is when we felt the most safest when we were children. So say it what it is. Cakes, biscuits, sweets are not treats. Treats regenerate you, okay? And those kinds of foods do not regenerate you, they degenerate you. So hack number 2, always link pleasure to not eating junk. Okay, now eventually the pleasure will come in the form of you looking more attractive, maybe feeling better in yourself, but this takes time. So in the meantime, you're going to have to find creative ways to link pleasure to not eating junk. You're not going to don't see not eating junk as denial. Don't see it as denial. Denial of what exactly? Denial of headaches? Denial of IBS? Oh, yes, I really want that headache. I really, really want that IBS. I really, really want painful muscles. I really, really want to be in a bad mood. If you want all of that stuff, go ahead. Eat those cakes, biscuits, crisps, sweets, chocolates, all of that. But if you don't want it, then it's not denial, is it? Your mind responds really well to choices. So you could say, I could have that bar of chocolate if I wanted to, but I'm choosing not to because I am choosing health over vitality. I'm choosing to feel really, really good about myself. I'm choosing to have a high libido. I'm choosing to have really good mood, to have a clear head. Now, so your mind loves that kind of language. These intrinsic rewards your mind and body absolutely love. these intrinsic rewards, feeling strong, feeling in control, feeling empowered, feeling great about yourself. There is nothing better than that kind of feeling, that feeling of accomplishment. But we can also have some extrinsic rewards as well. And these might come in the form of treating yourself to something new, maybe a new lipstick, maybe a new top, maybe a new gadget, maybe a new toy, whatever you fancy. So you've got to find creative ways of finding or linking not eating junk to pleasure, okay? So these little things might not seem very exciting as fish and chips or all of that stuff, but it will be in the long run. When your body is doing things that you never thought it would be able to do, that is when you'll be over the moon. So when you do something good for yourself like this, it creates this virtuous cycle, lifting you higher and higher and higher. And it's so infectious. It inspires other people, and you can make it your mission to be healthy. And I believe that a mission is way more sticky than a goal. Goals come and go. You lose 10 pounds, then what? You're going to go back to the old way of eating. But if you make it your mission to eat, sleep and breathe health and vitality, it will be so easy for you, trust me. So your perspective on food is everything. One person's palace is another person's prison. So shift your perspective on what junk food is for you, okay? So when you're in the midst of hunger or emotions, what can happen is we creep back, these old habits creep back in, and we get easily caught out. But it's up to us, to work with the rules of the mind to ease these cravings and to make better choices. So I've got 3 little mindset hacks that I use regularly to help me out of sticky situations. It's all about the way we look at things. So my first little hack for you is called reverse gratification. Now I'll tell you a little story about this. So quite a few months ago, I can't remember when, but I was with my family and we came out of the theatre and we were all pretty hungry, and they all went off to this burger joint, and I was like, there's not really going to be anything in there for me. As much as I could so eat a burger and chips right now, I decided to go to Pret, buy a salad, come back to the burger place and eat it with them. So as they were all tucking in to their burger, I was eating my salad, feeling a little bit put out, you could say, like, I really want to be eating a burger, but I'm eating a salad. It tastes okay, but here's the thing. I know, even though these guys are so happy because they're diving into their burgers and chips, I know that in half an hour, the reverse is going to happen, or an hour, the reverse is going to happen. I'm going to feel so good about myself, so clean, so clear, so clear-headed, and they're all going to be a bit lethargic and a bit groggy and a bit meh. And so that's what happens. So if you're faced with a situation where you have to eat your salad while everyone else is eating their burgers and chips, just think about that reverse gratification hack. Second hack I've got is called energy transference rejection. And I like these because they sound like a Big Bang Theory title. Energy transference rejection. Everything is energy. And when you see that food out there that perhaps you really, really want, say to yourself, do I really want to transfer all of that energy that's out there into my beautiful, amazing body in here? What is that going to do to me? So you only want to put the correct amount of fuel in. You wouldn't overfill your car because the tank is only certain, can hold a certain amount of fuel. So why would you wouldn't try to put more petrol in your car tank. So why would you try to put more fuel in your tank? You don't want to do that. It's energy transference rejection. I'm going to reject transferring that energy from out there to in this beautiful temple of mine. And the final hack is the not eating observation. So we are programmed to see food and want it. So I don't know about you, but whenever I go to a shopping centre or a festival, there's so much food everywhere. There's Lola's cupcakes, Millie's cookies. What else is there? The pretzels, just so much food. And you see it, you want it. First rule, don't look at it. Blinkers on, don't look at it. But also, I want you to observe the amount of people who are not eating the ice cream, the Millie's cookies, the Lola's cupcakes. I can guarantee there will be way more people not eating that stuff than there are eating that stuff. So this is called the not eating observation. Also, a couple of little extra things. Buy your food online if you can, so that you're not tempted in the supermarket. Buy in bulk, because the mind loves convenience. And if you've got a load of nuts and seeds and everything that you need with you, it's so convenient just to have that kind of food at the ready. It's portable, it's easy. Keep junk food out of sight. If you've got kids, keep all of that food in a separate container, out of sight, in a cupboard that's difficult to reach. And trust me, I forget it's there sometimes. I just, and then I open the cupboard and I'm like, oh wow, there's a load of digestive biscuits in there. I never even knew. So what we want to do is really set ourselves up so that we are really not thinking about food that much. And if we are faced with situations where we might be thinking about food, we know we can quickly apply these rules of the mind so that we are not at war with ourselves. Okay, the third rule of the mind: your mind loves the familiar and rejects the unfamiliar. So to change a habit, any habit, make the familiar unfamiliar and make the unfamiliar familiar. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So the familiar is so comfortable. Your mind loves what is familiar. That feeling of sitting on the sofa in the evening watching a lovely box set, maybe with some crisps. Oh, it's so lovely. Your mind loves that. It makes you feel so safe. It makes you feel protected. This is especially true when we get older. So when we're in our 20s and 30s, our brains are seemingly more malleable, more pliable, and we seem to embrace change a lot better than when we're in our 40s, 50s and 60s. So when we get older, we have this belief that we can't deal with change. We have this belief that we get set and stuck in our ways, that we are more rigid and more inflexible. However, I think this is because we just buy into this cultural belief that there's a certain way of getting older, there's a certain expectation, our health degenerates, we get stuck in our ways, that kind of stuff. But if you really look into it, there are some amazing people in the world who are just really rejecting that kind of status quo. So there's an amazing guy called John Butcher who looks exactly the same today at age 50, I think, than when he was 22. He looks exactly the same. You've got Louise Hay, you've got Deepak Chopra, you've got Oprah, and this new lady, this older lady called Tal Porchon Lynch, who's like a 100-year-old yoga instructor. And it's just phenomenal what these guys are doing. They are really defying the laws of nature. And our brains are totally capable of neurogenesis, of neuroplasticity, until the day that we die. So you can actually change a habit, you can learn something new until the day you die, which is brilliant. And I think understanding this makes it so much easier to accept that we can change these sticky habits that we might have gotten ourselves into. So what you need to do is to get used to the feeling of unfamiliarity until it becomes familiar. And it takes around 21 to 30 days to shift a habit. You need to stick at it, you need that consistency, and you need to link pleasure to the unfamiliar, right? So in terms of food and your eating habits, what is familiar that shouldn't be? Okay, so maybe you could write this down. Is it eating late at night? Is it, do you eat too much of a wide variety of food, or do you eat too much of a narrow variety of food? Do you copy your friends' eating habits? Do you copy your partner's eating habits? Do you rush your food? Is meal prep completely non-existent? Do you buy too much food, or do you buy not enough food? Or do you do this thing when you're out of perusing the menu, when really what you should be doing is just going straight to the food that you know is going to make you feel better at the end of the meal? Or do you like look at all the cakes, look at all the fish and chips, look at all the, other things on the menu? So what is it that you need to make familiar? Okay, so once you've figured out what is, I'm doing this wrong. What habits have you got that are familiar that shouldn't be? Write those all down. And then on the next page or whatever, write, what do you need to make familiar? Do you need to make meal planning familiar? Do you need to communicate with your family? Do you need to take the lead when it comes to meal prep? Do you need to stop eating after 6 p.m. at night? Do you need to start bulk buying? Do you need to avoid eye contact with junk food?